back to another video. So I was thinking of a childhood experience, and when God brought this back to my memory, I was just like, whoa, that is mind-blowing to consider that is how we interact with him. So if you think back to like those kids that always ask the question why, like the kids that just, no matter what you told them, they always wanted to know more. That child, depending on the people that were responding to the question, or like the people that they were around when they were constantly asking why, sometimes it would encourage them to continue to ask because the people would respond, and then other times that child would grow really discouraged and just not really want to ask questions anymore because they would never get answers. I was somewhere in the middle when I was a child, always been very curious about things. I love to think through things, to toss them over in my mind, and I remember that I was that child that would ask why a lot, and I was that child that would always ask questions, but often I was either met with an answer that just didn't like put the pieces together for me, or no response at all. And when I first started my relationship with God, I was like, okay, God, can I ask you questions or no? Because, you know, when I ask people questions, they tend to respond a certain type of way, and I don't really like that. So it made me think how the enemy discourages us from asking God questions. And the reason why that is problematic is because one of the most strategic and intentional ways for us to grow in our understanding, for us to grow in our relationship with God, is by asking questions. So, you know, we're in the month of August. This year has been absolutely bananas, and it has caused a lot of questions to be formed and to be posed to people in leadership, to our loved ones, even ourselves. I don't know if you've gotten into a time of self-reflection while we've been in the state that we're in, but there's definitely the opportunity present for so many questions to be asked. And if those questions don't have answers, that could become discouraging. But one of the beautiful things about serving God, the living God, the God who hears us, the God who is alive, the God who responds to his people, when you ask God a question, he's going to give you an answer. The answer doesn't always make sense sometimes when we first hear it, and the answer may not always be as simple as we want it to be, but we can rest assured in the fact that if we seek him out, if we inquire of the Lord, he is going to respond. This concept of asking God questions, I feel, is something that does not really get it doesn't get encouraged. Like we don't encourage people to ask God questions, and oftentimes it's because if they ask us a question and we don't have the answer, we don't want to put on them, you know, our ignorance, or we don't want to make them feel uncomfortable because we don't have a response. But the thing that we have to remember, God is not like man. God is not limited in his understanding. God is not limited in his response. So when we ask him a question, we can expect an answer. And there's proof of this in Proverbs chapter 2, verses 2 to 5. It says, if you seek out wisdom and you incline yourself to understanding, it's going to make you rich. If you continue to inquire of the Lord, that is when you will learn the fear of him, and that will enable you to interact with him in a way that brings his name glory. Why do I bring this up? It is so important for us during this time to make sure that we have a healthy grasp, not only on the willingness to ask God questions, but on hearing his voice. Prophecy is something that a lot of people don't really respond to, sometimes because of unbelief, or also because they may feel like God doesn't speak to me, or, you know, how am I supposed to know what the Lord is saying if I don't even believe that I can hear his voice? So just be mindful that in asking your questions and inquiring of the Lord, he is going to respond. And it is important now more than ever that you start to ask God questions, that you start to inquire of him. Okay, how do you want me to respond here, Lord? How do you want me to move forward? What do you want my posture to be? How do you want me to move forward from this place? Because there is an after that's coming. There is something that's coming that we have to be prepared for, and the only way that we can begin to prepare is by asking questions. So just be encouraged by that. This is a topic, hearing the voice of God, that I'm going to crack into a little bit more, but don't be afraid of why. Don't be afraid to pose that question to God. Don't be afraid to offer that question to God. And in your offering and in your questioning, make sure that you posture yourself to hear his response. I don't have any features this week. I just really wanted to encourage us to make sure that we are not shying away from asking God questions. He's not like humans. He's not going to shut you down. He's not going to leave you without an answer. But you have to avail yourself to communicate with him, because he wants to respond. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up because I have a couple things to do, and I will catch y'all with another video next week.